Thanks for your patience with us. We have developing news out of Richmond Hill. Police say they've got a suspect in custody after a person was found dead inside a home this morning. Anam Khan is standing by live at the scene. Anam, the latest news is about this arrest just coming into the newsroom. What have you learned?
Right. Shannon, police is still on scene right now. I've been here all afternoon. I've been speaking to neighbors who've been very curious and even eager to share information about the suspect. Now, police say 23-year-old Henry I has been arrested. He's from Richmond Hill. He's been arrested in Toronto. I was an outstanding suspect in relation to a homicide who is now in custody. And police say one adult was found dead in this home after police conducted a wellness check this morning. Neighbors tell me it was a couple in their 50s living with a young son. And police tell me the suspect and the victim knew each other.
The suspect and victim, the relationship there, they are known to each other. What that relationship is specifically, again, until the next of kin have all been notified, I can't release that information. And any further or prior police interaction with the suspect, we can't release that information. That would form part of the evidence that would ultimately lead to evidence that would be brought before a court during prosecution.
Police believe this was a targeted incident, and it's now the 17th homicide in the region this year. And obviously, neighbors have been very disturbed about this.
It's kind of crazy because, like, I never expected something like that to happen here. It's kind of like Gotham City, kind of like, I don't know, it's just insane to me. I think it's like a family. It's like a dad, a mom, and their son. I don't know if it was the son or if it was who it was, but there was like a dude who would be like getting upset outside.
Police have not released the names or the ages of the victims. They said they'll do that after the postmortem is complete and the next of kin is notified. And they also say there's no threat to public safety at this time, and they're not looking for any more suspects, but they are looking for video evidence in this area from Friday evening to this morning.
Okay, thanks, Anna. We'll be watching for updates on this one. She's reporting for us live from Richmond Hill tonight. A police officer was injured last night on the TTC after arresting a man for attempted robbery. Police were called to the area of Yonge and Bloor shortly after 1 a.m. A 30-year-old man was found inside Bloor Yonge Station on track level and arrested. A gun was found, and the officer suffered non-life-threatening injuries during the arrest. Getting around the GTA is a bit of a nightmare this weekend, and for some, that's putting it mildly. Not only is the Gardiner shut down, there's a number of transit disruptions. Brittany Billette spent the day surveying the traffic. She's at a shuttle bus stop. Hey, Brittany, what are riders telling you?
Overall, people seem to be pretty understanding. A man here earlier said, things sometimes need to get worse before they get better. But of course, disruptions like this do take time out of people's day, and some did feel the pressure.
It does really add stress, especially when it's like you're already running late.
It'll add on about another 30 minutes, because the shuttle buses, they're quite packed. Yeah. It's Toronto. What can you do?
As long as I know, then I can plan before, but I just didn't know, which is why it caught me off guard.
This weekend on the TTC, be prepared for 3 major closures. Shuttle buses will run between Broadview and Coxwell stations Saturday and Sunday due to Ontario Line construction. Today, there's no subway service between York Mills and St. Clair stations for track work. Shuttle buses will operate and regular service will resume Sunday by 8 a.m. On Sunday as well, subway service between St. George and Broadview will start late by 11 a.m. due to planned track work. Riders will be directed to shuttle buses. This transit advocate says maintenance is critical, but too much has been put off for too long.
It was not the way the subway ran 10 years ago. We did not have constant slow orders and constant weekend shutdowns and early evening shutdowns for track repair.
In a statement, the TTC acknowledges closures are inconvenient, but says they're needed in order to maintain and improve the TTC network. When the TTC has a full weekend closure, we can accomplish 5 times more work each day than we can in one nightly closure, which is less than 2 hours of work time. These closures are happening on the heels of a media briefing about the city's traffic congestion plans. Some are eager to know how the plan will support the TTC.
The word transit almost never passed their lips. This was all car-oriented stuff. Now, transit will benefit, certainly. The traffic agents, the red light cameras, the automated ticketing, all of this will benefit transit, but they never talked about this as being something for transit.
3 other disruptions will also put additional pressure on public transit and roads this weekend. The Barrie GO line isn't running due to construction along the corridor.
There's expansion, which we put off for a long time. That's necessary too, but in the process, it takes away capacity that we normally take for granted.
The second disruption? The Lakeshore West GO line is running on an hourly schedule this weekend. And of course, last but certainly not least, the largest closure, the one drivers are lamenting, the Gardiner Expressway. Lanes were shut down overnight Friday. The city says this block of disruption will prevent more than 30 other closures down the road.
Definitely not happy to hear that it's closed all weekend. Probably going to cause a lot of congestion in the city too. So,
if you're trying to get anywhere in the city, you can't.
And when you're sitting in the traffic, it's a disaster, wasting time, which we don't have.
The Gardiner won't reopen until Sunday at 10 a.m., but more headaches are on the way. TTC riders can expect another disruption next week, starting on Monday, Line 2 between Victoria Park and Kennedy Station for overnight track work. Shannon?
Sophia's here on this final day of summer. We're heading into, though, the cozy season, which I don't mind at all.
Yeah, pumpkin spice lattes and cozy sweaters, but we bid adieu to summer with some potent summer storms ongoing as we speak. We're talking about some big storms, hail storms as well. Northwest of the Hamilton area, Linden, Jerseyville, they're traveling at a pretty fast clip. We did see some severe storm warnings earlier for sort of northwest of the Hamilton area and northwest of the Newmarket and Innisfil area. Storms that could have up to nickel-size hail, all part of this upper level trough that has really undercut and hidden underneath this ridge of high pressure that we've been enjoying over the past week. It's also an upper level trough that's part and parcel of the shower activity that we saw over the past 24 hours that has ended this lovely summer dry stretch that we've had for the past 11 days, the longest dry stretch so far this year, beating out that stretch from February 2nd to 9th, not the old-time driest streak we've had. That was 26 days between September to October in 1938. It'll all be part and parcel of a fall pattern change ongoing over the coming days. If the gardens are looking quite dry and straw-like, you'll enjoy the 20 to 40 millimeters we have on tap between sort of Sunday into Wednesday for this upcoming work week. I'll tell you about all the timing when we return and when we can officially welcome in fall. And cheers those pumpkin spice lattes, Shannon.
Oh yeah, the grass needs some love for sure. We'll take some rain. Thanks,
We've given
Sophia.
up on ours.
Well, a bit of a mystery for city officials in Toronto. They've been left puzzled after 18 plaques have gone missing.
I've never heard of plaques being taken off bridges before, but now that we know that that's happening, I think that the materials need to be reviewed and also the way that they're affixed to the bridges need to be reconsidered because clearly people are stealing them. It's obvious. And the City of Toronto, both to protect what it's invested in, but also, I mean, just look at the bridge looks awful. We need to address that.
City staff, meantime, though, are reluctant to speculate on how the plaques disappeared. Almost all of the 18 identified by CBC Toronto were mounted on bridges east and west of Yonge Street between Davenport and Eglinton. The bronze plaques are worth as much as $8,000 each, and Heritage Toronto has placed about 900 of them right across the city. To Windsor next, where City Council has got a big budget battle on its hand. The city is looking at a nearly 13% property tax increase unless some cuts to the operating budget are made. The mayor says nearly half of that projected increase is due to factors outside the city's control. Chris Ensing takes a look.
With a huge budget increase on the table in Windsor, 12.9%, people are questioning city's previous spending habits. They're looking at 2 projects. There's the recently approved $15 million downtown ice rink project, and then there's the $10 million Legacy Beacon project that's about to be completed.
If we didn't spend money on a beacon trolley project, $10 million, an ice rink, $15 million, that would free up $25 million that could go for other capital projects. Hence, putting the pressure on council to spend that money on more priority initiatives because we don't have endless resources and we're not charging the people of Windsor more to pay for more.
That's South Windsor Councillor Fred Francis. He voted against both of those projects and council approved them to move forward. Mayor Drew Dilkins also supported those projects. He has a different point of view.
So I know I've heard, comments from people saying, well, if you didn't build the ice rink and you didn't build the beacon, we wouldn't be in this position. It's all nonsense. These are capital projects, one-time money out the door, like a road project, like a sewer project. We don't want to cut any of those. We think those are the city building initiatives that are really, really important to help support the growth.
Someone has to pay for the utilities for that ice rink. Someone has to pay for security for that ice rink. Someone has to pay for maintenance for that ice rink. So to build an ice rink, it's capital, but to maintain it, it's operating. And we don't know what those operating budget costs are going to be, just like we don't know what they're going to be for the beacon trolley project. You need security, and you need someone to cut the grass, you need someone to wash the windows, you need someone to pay the utilities. Those are all operating costs.
The only publicly available cost estimates are attached to numbers that are years old. $100,000 a year for the ice rink, which will include a fountain as well as an outdoor event space, and about $40,000 a year for the Legacy Beacon project, which will have a snack bar, the refurbished streetcar, and public bathrooms. And it's not a budget year in Windsor without someone bringing up Adventure Bay. The Windsor Star reported this year that the indoor water park, alongside the 10-lane pool and diving facility, costs $4 million annually to operate, in a deficit. There's 1% of the city's budget right there. Should the city look at selling it off?
You could sell any asset we have. You're going to get one-time money, and you'll be able to fill a hole this year, but next year that hole is going to exist, and you're going to have to find that same amount of money in order to keep that savings going. And so the goal here is not to have to cut the capital budget.
Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Hockey season is almost here. The Sens and Leafs will play an early Battle of Ontario preseason game tomorrow in Ottawa. A lot of the excitement is over a long-awaited new downtown arena, but as Simon Smith tells us, it could still be years before construction gets underway.
It's been a long wait, and it's not over yet. No, I'm not talking about a Stanley Cup run. Building the Ottawa Senators a new home in the city's downtown core is now one major step closer.
The NCC and the Ottawa Senators have reached an agreement in principle for the sale of lands to develop a major event center and arena district in LeBreton Flats.
The NCC has agreed in principle to sell a 10-acre parcel of land at LeBreton Flats to the team at market value, which is still to be determined. There's still plenty of work to be done before shovels are in the ground at the project, but the Sens president has some details on what it may look like.
We haven't done the design work, so all of that, what else will come, needs to be done. It would be unusual to have a downtown venue like this without a public outdoor space in front of the venue. Again, having more land allows that to take place.
Replacing the Canadian Tire Centre with a new downtown stadium was a key promise owner Michael Anlauer made when he bought the team last summer. And it's welcome news for hockey fans who want to avoid the long trek to Canada.
As a Sens fan, Ottawa resident, looking forward to it.
Nice, better than driving all the way to Canada.
We need much more fun in Ottawa,
But more fun in the form of a downtown arena doesn't necessarily translate to an economic boost for the city, says this expert.
People will say, well, we like the idea, but when they're asked to try and explain what the economics of the idea is, they're just going to say something like, oh, it'll bring in tourism dollars, or, oh, it'll bring economic activity to the LeBreton Flats. But the reality is that there's no economic evidence to suggest that either of those things happens with arenas and stadiums.
The announcement didn't offer much insight into how the billion-dollar project will be funded, including if any part of the bill will be picked up by Ottawa taxpayers. And questions still remain about the ability of Ottawa's troubled LRT to get fans to and from the games. Leader says the Sens will take over the site sometime in 2025. As for when the team takes the ice at LeBreton Flats, though, that remains to be seen. Simon Smith, CBC News, Ottawa.
A CBC News investigation is shining the light on a section of the border that's becoming a route for human smugglers. Jorge Barrera takes us to one farm in upstate New York where a pathway for people sneaking from Canada into the States is all caught on camera.
So we're
right on the edge of the border between U.S. and Canada.
This is a well-worn cross-border trail that cuts through Chris Oliver's farm.
It's been stepped on quite a bit.
Yeah. He lives in upstate New York near Fort Covington, along the international boundary with Quebec.
They walk right down through because it's an easy path to walk right to here.
People crossing illegally from Canada into the U.S. move through his farm almost daily, all caught on Oliver's trail cameras.
The week of Labor Day weekend, we had 48 people cross on our camera, and that's just one camera in one area.
Oliver's home sits on a stretch of the line that sees the highest number of illegal crossings. 13,000 people caught by U.S. Border Patrol in the first half of this year, a 526% increase since 2022. People cross for many reasons, for jobs or reuniting with family. But earlier this month, the RCMP arrested a Pakistani national in Ormstown, Quebec, who allegedly planned an ISIS-inspired terror attack in New York City. Police say he hired a human smuggler to sneak him into the U.S.
We had that guy that was stopped in Ormstown. A few hours after that, I had people on my camera. That guy could have very well been with that group.
With malicious intent, you have no idea.
It looks like a little child's toy of some kind. It was dropped along here, maybe by a family going along.
Retired Ontario Police Detective Matthew Amer led a multi-agency team that targeted human smuggling networks. He says they're tough to crack, even with many of them operating in plain sight on social media.
Some of those social media apps and messaging services don't have a bricks and mortar office here in Canada that we can serve judicial authorizations on to get any kind of user data.
Radio Canada recently went undercover to contact a smuggler marketing their pricey services to Indian nationals on TikTok.
Yeah, it could very well be crossing here.
The RCMP, which keeps an eye on the border between customs posts, says patrols have ramped up since the Ormstown arrest.
That one there was just two people that were crossing through.
The constant human traffic brings him stress and worry.
It bothers you because you have no control over it. Helpless. There's nothing you can do.
All he can do is keep his cameras rolling. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Fort Covington, New York.
Mirvish Productions is throwing back the curtain, hosting its first ever open house at the Princess of Wales Theatre.
Always wanted to do an open house, and we've never had the opportunity. And there was a window of one weekend where the theater was available to us while they're installing some of the lighting for the Lion King production.
And I wanted to see the backstage of this theater because it's never open during the doors open, but it's open today. And I got to see the masks that will be in the Lion King.
The rare opportunity lasting just 4 hours this afternoon. More than 6,000 theater lovers were expected to take it all in. The free event offering a backstage pass into the renowned theater downtown Toronto. In addition to learning about its history, there was face painting, music workshops, and talking with the stage crew. Now, some of them have been working at the theater since it opened back in 1993. Do you remember the day you said your I do's? It was probably nothing like what was happening north of Toronto on Stony Lake.
You look beautiful. Enjoy your marriage. And lose all your freedoms.
Hundreds of pooches there saying their nuptials today. Goodbye to their freedoms. They were hoping to break 2 world records most of us couldn't even dream of. The largest cake for dogs and the largest dog wedding ceremony. Wedding certificates will be given to all the good boys and girls getting married, with their ceremonies being officiated by one of the most legendary voices in Canadian television, Lloyd Robertson. And Sophia, our viewers may have noticed another legend. Colette Kennedy is our meteorologist during the week. Yeah, that's her golden retriever, Bogey, getting married. He and his newlywed wife, Jewel, are both rescues from Istanbul. So, match made in heaven right there. Looking their best.
Canine love connection. Get this, it's holy matrimony. Get it? Matrimony.
Queen of the puns.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. How can you not after all of that? I wish I was there for the moment where they said, I now pronounce you dog and dog.
They're just
Awesome.
gorgeous.
And luckily, it wasn't raining cats and dogs for their big day. We do have some fog coming in. It's that fog bank we've had over the past couple days. Congrats again to all the happy couples. Fog bank into the western edge of Lake Ontario and around the Huron shores for your Sunday morning. And then that fog mixes out and the next pattern change really comes in. This is a big trough pattern, active storm track rather, really conducive of more of a fall-like pattern. But we won't necessarily have fall-like temperatures for this upcoming week ahead. The rain or heavy showers will come in 2 slugs. First Sunday night into Monday, impacting the Monday morning drive with some heavy rain. And then the next one, Tuesday into Wednesday, on and off. It won't be a washout of a day each day between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but you will have some showery and rainy periods. All in all, about 20 to 40 millimeters of rain to expect upcoming this week. Not a flooding story, but certainly more of a fall-like pattern. We officially say hello to fall. 8:44 a.m. tomorrow morning. Bring on all the pumpkin spice and the cozy sweaters. I am lamenting the end of summer, also lamenting the end of being able to cook dinner in daylight. Nights are going to become longer than the days. That sun is directly over the equator. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. 80% pop of precipitation, not washouts of days, but that ridge builds in nicely for into next weekend. And we do have above seasonal temperatures still, but more fall-like weather, Shannon.
Absolutely lovely. And we're counting down to Halloween now, so it's all good.
Can't wait. We got to start thinking of our costumes.
That's our show for tonight.